Okay. If you would just give us a little introduction as to who you are and where you've come from.
I'm Ron Lorenzo Walker Jr., originally from Lexington, went to Tate Creek High School and Furman University undergraduate, and from there returned to Lexington and went to the University of Kentucky and graduated at the law school in 1987.
What interested you about studying law? Why did you choose that as a profession?
Sort of one of those things that I developed early on. Decided I wanted to be a lawyer in the 4th grade after realizing that lawyers were able to really help people and give back to the community and to help do things that most other professions aren't, and was just excited about becoming a respected member of the community.
What memories do you have of law school? Were there any particular professors that stand out in your mind that influenced you?
I had very good constitutional law professors, Professor Tracy Macklin and John Garvey, and they continued continued my interest in constitutional law and those kinds of things, especially since I was at that time clerking with Brooks Kaufman and Fitzpatrick doing education and school law. So I was really excited about the constitutional law issues that we discussed, and Professor Garvey was very, very good at entertaining us and drawing out interesting discussions.
After you graduated from law school, what was your first law job that you had as an attorney?
I was fortunate enough to be hired by Judge Barker, and I was his law clerk for a year, and then I left there after that year and joined Brooks Kaufman and Fitzpatrick.
Do you have any particular memories of those early years starting out that?
Oh, well, when you're just getting out of law school and you really begin to see trials, that was what was so exciting. And to see Judge Barker and his wit, which is something that you'll always remember, but he was just so smart and engaging with the jury and his interaction with counsel. And then there were so many interesting cases. I remember one case in particular which was my first death penalty eligible case, and hearing all the evidence and the forensic evidence. That was the first time that I really became familiar with forensic evidence, and having the medical examiner come in and testify about all the things that happen in decomposition of bodies and so forth, and how they go back and put those things back together was quite interesting, especially in the early 80s, or the late 80s, I should say.
Okay, so about 20 years ago when you started, trials were basically conducted the same way as they are now. Have you seen any major changes in the court system since you've been practicing?
Well, at that time, they were just starting videotaping of court proceedings. And I think that from the standpoint of appeals, that has become the biggest change, and having that evidence on videotape as opposed to using stenographers and court reporters. And I think that in a lot of ways that, it's always different to see it as opposed to reading it on paper after the trial. So I think that's been probably the biggest change in court proceedings, along with all the other technological advances when you talk about the use of Elmos in the courtroom and all the videotaping of like the day in the life videos of plaintiffs and injured parties. So those are, I would say, some of the biggest changes, and obviously the use of computers and the filing of documents over the internet, and in federal court especially with electronic filing and things like that. So those are the biggest changes that I would say I've seen in the practice of law in the courtroom.
Well, did you immediately join the Fayette County Bar Association when you started practicing?
I did immediately join the Fayette County Bar Association, and it was, I realized that it was a good way to meet other attorneys and to just get a feel for the local bar association, and it's been a rewarding experience for me. I have enjoyed the people that I've met, and I've learned an awful lot from those relationships, as well as the CLEs and programs that the bar has offered.
How long have you been on the board? When did you first join the board of the Bar Association?
Gosh, I would say, well, probably the late 90s. I can't say exactly, but for the last 5 years I've been on the executive board. So I would say 2 year and a 2 year term before that. So I would say I've been on about 7 or 8 years really. So as you can see, it's a long time commitment there.
Have you seen a lot of changes in the Bar Association since you've been involved?
Without question, I've seen a lot of changes. When I initially came on the board, we were struggling with what we were providing and doing it with our economic situation. But since then, we've been fairly good at managing our finances, as well as getting to the point where we're concentrated on improving our benefits for our members, upgrading our CLE opportunities, and doing things that will have an impact on the day-to-day operations of our members.
Great. When you first started, did attorneys perform much pro bono work? I think the pro bono program with the Bar Association started in the late 80s. Was that in place when you started practicing law?
It was in place when I started, and I participated in that part of the Bar Association as well by volunteering, and continued really to volunteer until I left and went into practice with the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Great. Did you have any political involvement while you've been practicing law? Has that been an important part of?
No, I have been fortunate enough to avoid all the political situations and races and so forth.
Excuse me just a moment. Well, this section has a number of questions, and I'm going to go through every single one of them. When you first started, what was the work environment like? How many hours did you work per day, and were there dress requirements that have changed or evolved over the years, or do people still pretty much dress in three-piece suits and have pocket watches?
Well, I think that the practice of law has evolved in a sense that it is a little more casual, in the sense that lawyers, even when they were just going to the office when I first started, would primarily wear coat and tie. But I think that now most people, when they don't have court and when they're not expecting to have any clients or anything business oriented, are going to the office a little more casual. And I think the women have definitely changed their dress over the years, in that they can dress in pantsuits and still be considered professional, as opposed to always having on a dress or a skirt.
What type of practice did you have when you started out? Has it basically been the same through your career, or have you changed areas of practice?
No, I started out as a young attorney, an associate with Brooks and Fitzpatrick after I left the court, and was practicing education, school, constitutional law issues, and representing teachers primarily with the Kentucky Education Association. So I did a fair amount of traveling over the eastern part of the state and seeing a variety of areas and a variety of issues that related to school law and employment law, for that matter. So, and early on, employment law and racial discrimination and sexual discrimination and sexual harassment were really just getting to the point where they were becoming fairly regular parts of the law at that time.
How did you build your client base, or how did you get clients for your starting out practice when you were first starting to build a practice?
Well, one way was that I was associated with the firm, and we had a built-in client base, like I said, through the Teachers Education Association. But another good way that I found was to get out and do CLEs where I was talking on different topics through the Bar Association, through the other professional organizations that conducted CLE programs, and through the pro bono service. It's amazing how many times that people would say, well, so-and-so that you represented gave me your name, and a lot of times that was because of my involvement with the pro bono service.
What sorts of changes have occurred in the law during your practice, and have these changes affected your practice?
Well, I was in private practice up until 1999, and then I went to the U.S. Attorney's Office. And going from the private sector into the public sector has been a big change for me, because being an employee of the United States, you have to go through all the bureaucracy and all those kinds of things. But from a private practice standpoint, I would say the advent and the use of technology really is the biggest change in the practice of law, because now where you used to use dictaphones and tape recorders and so forth in order to have your secretary or your paralegal type things and so forth, you almost do a lot of that. At least I do now. I do a majority of my own word processing myself, and that's just not the way it was when you started out in the late 80s. I mean, secretaries did everything. Copying machines were run crazy, and there wasn't the kinds of printers and so forth that we know, in the internet, inter-office networking and all that kinds of stuff. And even to that extent, the phone systems have changed dramatically over that period of time. So, all those kinds of technological advances have made the practice of law easier somewhat, and yet more difficult.
What public events affected the practice of law since you've been practicing? Do any come to mind?
Public events.
That's a tough one. Everybody does the same thing. You don't have to answer it if you don't have
Okay.
anything that comes to
Well,
mind.
let me come back to that.
Okay. Do you have any advice for young lawyers, people just starting out?
I would definitely say join the Bar Association. I would say find someone in a firm or someone, if you're not in a firm, that practices in the area that you practice in, to just talk to begin to understand all the nuances regarding the practices of law, and just to have someone to bounce ideas off of, because it is a practice. And that means that one way, one time is okay, but the next time you may need to adjust and change something. And it's always good to have someone that you can bounce ideas off of and get a different perspective.
What are the biggest challenges facing the legal profession today? Are they the same as when you started 20 years ago?
Well, I think the biggest challenge for the law profession in general is to regain the public's respect and to show the public that we are concerned about things that the public is concerned about, and that money is not our money is not our primary concern. And if we can address that issue as a profession, I think that we will have done our society a great service.
Are there any stories you might want to share about any experiences you've had with judges or other attorneys in the practice of law here in Lexington? Funny, not funny? It's up to you.
You know, unfortunately, I can't remember anything that just sort of
Jumps out.
jumps out at me.
Nothing that you'd want to, at least nothing that you'd want to repeat on
Yeah.
videotape.
For judges, anyway.
Is there anything in particular that you would like, people to know? I mean, this is going to be a historic reference for the Fayette County Bar Association. Anything you'd like to go on record as putting on tape?
Well, I think that this time is a time that you will see the Bar Association continue to move in a different direction and improve the organization and our membership in a way that is going to lead us into the 21st century for years to come. I'm excited about what's going on in our Bar Association. I'm excited about the leadership that we have and that we've had in directing us into new areas and improving our members, the life for our members.
That's pretty much everything we've got on here, unless there's some particular area that you would like to talk about a little bit more. Anything?
No.
Anything in particular?
No, there's nothing in particular. If I think of something,
Were
I'll
you in
let
the band at Tate's Creek? Somebody wanted me to ask you that.
know.
You can
I was
imagine
not
that was Dana.
No, I was not in the band. I actually played football and
We'll see.
basketball in high school.
So you had some peripheral band experience.
Oh, very peripheral band experience. So
That's funny.
I mean, we saw. I may have sat by the pep band at soccer games because I was a class officer, and we'd go out and support when we had a very good soccer team at Tate's Creek when I was there, and so we were constantly trying to get support for our soccer program. So,
Great. I'll have to tell her that.
yeah.
I think that's it. I think we're
Okay.
done. I think that was painless.
I recall when I first started practicing in Lexington in 1987, there was only one minority in a law firm over 10-person. And that was John McNeil and all the other African American or black attorneys were either solo practitioners or working with other black or minority attorneys or in government positions. And as time has gone on, we've seen those numbers increase in some of the larger firms, and that's a very positive step in the right direction. Also, when I was in law school, there were 4 other attorneys that graduated in my class that were African American, and there were a total of 7 in the law school at that time. And since then, the numbers have gone up and down, but I don't think they have been as low as 7 since then. So we've seen positive steps in the law school's admission and graduation rates and admissions in Lexington, and that has been the pattern throughout the state as well. And that's significant not only from the standpoint of lawyers, but it's also significant from the standpoint of the community. And when children see successful people of their same likeness, then they're more likely to be willing to dream and to seek goals that they can achieve based on those role models. So since I've become an attorney, we've seen some very good steps in the right direction on those fronts, and I believe that we will continue to see growth as those attorneys and students that are pursuing law become successful. More will follow their steps. So,
great. Any other areas you want to talk about? Anything else that we should include?
no, those were primarily
I was going to say we talked about pro bono and technology, I think, last time. I'm trying to think if there's anything about the changes and challenges.
No, that was, I mean, after I left, I realized that I hadn't mentioned any of that stuff and thought I probably should.
Well, and I thought too, after you left too, I thought, I didn't ask you what it was like to be the first African-American bar president for the Fayette County Bar Association.
Well, I mean, it's an honor and a privilege to be a member of this bar association to begin with, and as an African American, I'm even more honored, and I'm especially proud that our bar association is moving in the direction that it is, and that I've been able to play a part in that. And I hope that because of the things that the Bar Association has done and the people that I've had to interact with, and that they will see the potential in others and be willing to give someone else a chance that they may not otherwise have been willing to do. So that's my perspective, and I'm just honored and glad to be a member of this Bar Association. So.
All right. Should we do a Bar Association commercial here? Join today.